Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is Left Bank Books welcomes award-winning poet Kim Addonizio, who will discuss her new collection, Now We're Getting Somewhere, Poems. Addonizio will be in conversation with stage, film, and TV actress and contributor to Notes from the Bathroom Line, Humor, Art, and Low-Grade Panic from 150 of the Funniest Women in Comedy, Aya Cash. Left Bank Books is St. Louis's oldest independent bookstore. We would like to thank all of our supporters, the supporters of Kim and Aya, and everyone for their outpouring of love for our bookstore. Left Bank Books offers curbside pickup and delivery to anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. We are very happy to be able to bring our event series virtual. We believe that events are a way to expand your mind and bring in new thoughts to make the world a better place. We hope that you enjoy this event, and we hope that you support Left Bank Books by purchasing a signed copy for you or for your friends at left-bank.com. Purchasing a copy of either book from Left Bank Books allows us to keep our bookstore and staff operating, and it allows us to keep this event series going. So thank you for your support. I am Shane Mullen. I'm the events coordinator for Left Bank Books. I help produce our hundreds of author events each year with a fantastic team here in St. Louis. We will be taking questions from you, the audience, at the end of the event, so you can type your questions as a comment at any point in time throughout the event. And be sure to follow Left Bank Books on Facebook to be notified about all of our fantastic virtual events. We have incredible events lined up for the year and are adding events daily. We've had award winners from nearly every category of literature in the past month and a half. And now, about tonight's book, about Now We're Getting Somewhere. A dark, no-holds-barred, and often hilarious collection from a prize-winning poet veering between the poles of self and world. Kim Addonizio's sharp and irreverent 8th volume, Now We're Getting Somewhere, is an essential companion to your practice of the Finnish art of halsari kannet, drinking at home alone in your underwear with no intention of going out. Imbued with the poet's characteristic precision and passion, the collection charts a hazardous course through heartache, climate change, dental work, outlander, semiotics, and more. Combating existential gloom with a wicked, seductive energy, Addonizio investigates desire, loss, and the madness of contemporary life. She calls out to Walt Whitman and John Keats, echoes Dorothy Parker, and finds sisterhood with Virginia Woolf. Sometimes confessional, sometimes philosophical, these poems weave from desolation to drollery and clamor with raucous imagery. An insect in high heels, a wolf at an uncomfortable party, a glowing and self-serious guitar. A poet whose voice lifts from the page alive and biting. Addonizio reminds her reader, if you think nothing and no one can, listen, I love you, joy is coming. About tonight's speakers. Kim Addonizio's 8th collection of poetry is Now We're Getting Somewhere. She has also published 2 novels, 2 short story collections, and 2 books on writing poetry. The Poet's Companion with Dorian Lowe, and Ordinary Genius, a guide for the poet within. Her most recent publications are a memoir, Bukowski in a Sundress, and a book of poems, Mortal Trash. Her work has been recognized with a Guggenheim Fellowship, 2 NEA Fellowships, 2 Pushcart Prizes, and other awards, and has been translated into several languages. Her collection, Tell Me, was a National Book Award finalist. Her poems and essays have appeared in The New Yorker, The New York Times, Poetry, The Sun, and many anthologies. She lives in Oakland, California. And tonight we also have guest Aya Cash. Aya is currently starring on This Country, a new Fox comedy. She was recently seen on season 2 of Prime Video's The Boys, a Critics' Choice Super Award winner, Best Actress. Her numerous television credits include Fosse Verdon, the FX comedy series, You're the Worst, Critics' Choice Award and TCA Award nominations, Best Actress, Joe Swansburg's Netflix anthology series Easy, Will and Grace, Modern Family, and more. On the film side, Cash just starred in Sundance and Shudder hit Scare Me, and other film highlights include Social Animals, Game Over Man, Mary Goes Round, Martin Scorsese's Oscar-nominated film The Wolf of Wall Street, and Mike Birbiglia's Sleepwalk with Me. Cash's theater credits include starring roles in off-Broadway plays at playhouses such as The Public, Playwrights Horizons, The Atlantic, MCC, Manhattan Theater Club, and The Rattlestick, to name a few. She has starred in New York or world premieres of plays by Ethan Coen, Bruce Norris, Zoe Kazan, Matthew Lopez, Lucy Thurber, Liz Flehive, Sarah Burgess, and Nikki Silver. And now, I am incredibly happy and proud to welcome our guests for the evening. If you would please help me at home in joining me in a round of applause so that they can hear you from wherever you are to wherever they are. We have Aya Cash and Kim Addonizio. Hello.
Hi.
Can you?
Hey, everybody we can't see.
But can you hear them?
I feel they're clapping.
Good.
It's like being hit in the face.
Well, we are going to start tonight with a reading from you, Aya. Then we're going to be followed with a reading from Kim and conversation to follow, and then the audience Q&A. So let's go ahead and get into it.
All right.
And just to be clear, Kim is my mother. I don't know if that was mentioned, but here.
That actress sounds like she's got a lot of credits. I wonder what kind of writer she is.
Yeah. All right. I am going to read an essay I wrote called Skin. Just relax, 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 relax. You're laid out like a corpse, nude form on a slab. Be in your body. Your foot is against her soft belly, the exposed skin between her underwear and bra. She's scrubbing your inner thigh. Remember when you brought that friend here and her masseuse punched her rhythmically in the vagina? You hope you don't get punched in the vagina. Is she thinking about the shape of your vulva? Do she and the other women at the spa compare notes after work, stripping off their soaked bras and recounting the day's pussies? You remember when you learned that your vagina was something to be worried about, that labia could be too long, that it needed to be bare, that you had to eat pineapple to make it smell good, or boys would talk about you after school while playing video games and smoking weed. She's laughing now and saying, skin, pointing to the gray lumps left on the table. Is this intimacy? She's literally been skinning you. Does it make her feel close to you, or is she repulsed? You suppose in all jobs, strange things normalize after repetition. You can't shake the feeling that she's looking at your untoned figure, thinking skinny fat, what that anonymous internet troll wrote under an article about you. But maybe that's you thinking it, searching for confirmation of your grotesqueness. You know her name, Deborah, but she doesn't seem to remember you. You've been here before, but neither of you ever acknowledged that this isn't the first time she's flayed you. Enjoy this. You wonder if she was surprised by your tattoo. When she flipped over your water-pickled body, if she thought, tramp stamp, seeing the large hawk spread across your lower back, talons clutching your upper cheeks, a remnant of a former you, the one who pierced her nipples and drank Old English and went to raves. She must recognize you now. The bird would jog her memory. She's talking, loudly explaining something to a colleague over the divider. She's probably laughing about how pale you are, with a roadmap of veins that flow beneath your translucent skin. She's probably asking, who would get a giant bird tattoo to guard her anus like a gatekeeper? She's probably... Oh, she's just asking for another towel. You can see another stripped body fuzzy through the glass. Is that other naked woman having a good time? Is that body blissed out? There's something wrong with you. Be soothed. Now Deborah is slapping you, politely, like a new lover. She gives you the massage that comes with the scrub, the one you don't want, the one that hurts. Maybe she doesn't really want to give it either. Maybe it pains her fingers to push so hard, but she thinks you want it. She mistakes your silence for pleasure, just like that boy in college you faked orgasms for. Silence to climax in 3, 2, 1. Do not fake an orgasm here. You will be kicked out of the spa for funny business. There are plaques all over the locker room saying so, but no specific definition of the term. You are fairly confident that sudden loud moaning may qualify. Be in your body. Be in your body. Does she think you won't tip well because you're young? Are you young? You still feel like a teen. You wait for people to say, but you're too young to, even though that's not really true anymore, is it? You just auditioned to play the mother of a 14-year-old and the wife of a man in his 50s. Maybe she thinks you won't tip well because you're poor. But you're not poor anymore either, even though you can't seem to shake the famine mentality, the fear of being kicked out of nice places. You're still uncomfortable walking into pricey clothing stores. You assume they'll think you're stealing, even though you never really did that. Your friends in middle school stole hundreds of dollars of CK1 so they could smell like hormonal urine, but you were too scared to, even though you desperately wanted to smell the same as they did. The massage is thorough but fast. She confirms each muscle exists, but has no curiosity about any of them. The contact is personal, but not erotic. Efficient. As an actor, you are also paid to touch strangers without getting turned on or turning others on, at least the others in the room. It should look sexy, but not feel sexy. A trick. Yet somehow you all end up on YouPorn or Xtube next to the real sex videos. And now it's done. Are you relaxed now? She's dumping hot water over you. It feels like lying on the beach and letting the waves crash. She sits you up and pats you dry with a towel, as only your mother has done to a much smaller body and much younger body of yours. You remember that young body before breasts. Then you remember it changing, being proud to get pubic hair, purposely letting it peek out the sides of your bathing suit to prove that you were growing up, and then a kindly adult warning you that it was showing. You were supposed to be embarrassed. You remember how discouraged you were when the breasts you waited for never grew to the size that your best friend had. You remember all the disappointments of your adult body and all the promise and hope of that tiny one. Deborah thanks you and hands you her tip envelope, as if you have already given her what she wanted. You walk through the bathhouse, dizzy and damp. There's a woman with a twisted torso being carried around to each tub by a caretaker, naked body wrapped around naked body. Suddenly, your own body feels perfect in comparison. Both women look vulnerable as they cling to each other, flesh pressed against flesh. You have so many privileges. You're so lucky. You feel so guilty. But your skin is soft now, new. Maybe you are new as well. Maybe your other selves, your ungrateful attitude, and your insecurities can be left there with the gray skin, a bucket of hot water washing it all down the drain.
Can you hear my applause?
The sound of one hand clapping.
That was great. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Mama.
You're welcome, baby.
All right.
So I'm so excited. I'm so excited to read with my daughter. And really, I love that piece. I just think it's amazing that we both have writing in the world at the same time. And so I'm going to read a little bit. We're gonna get a chance to chat, Aya and I, after this, and then we'll have some questions as well. And I'm going to read some poems from this book. Now We're Getting Somewhere. So here is, I should read the two epigraphs because they kind of say something about the book. One of them is Leonard Cohen's Everybody Knows the Captain Lied, which I think everybody knows the asshole I mean when I quote that line. And the other one is Elizabeth Taylor, Pour Yourself a Drink, Put on Some Lipstick, and Pull Yourself Together. So those are sort of the twin poles that this book kind of circles around. Things in the world and things in the self. This is called Night in the Castle. I'm not sure what to do about that scorpion twitching on the wall. Maybe I should slam it with this book of terrible poetry, or just read aloud to it until it dies of a histrionic metaphor bleeding out on the ancient stones in a 5-octave aria. If I get a little drunker, I might try to murder it with my sandal, I gave up on mercy a while ago. That's what happens when you live in a castle on an artist's grant. You look at the late afternoon Umbrian light smearing itself over the tomato vines and feel entitled, like an underage duchess whose husband has finally died of gout, leaving her free for more secret liaisons with the court musician. She might even have poisoned the Duke, the lecherous shit. It's hard to remember what life was like before this. And I don't want to. I want to stay here and poison the king next. I want to be a feared and beloved queen, ordering up fresh linens and beheadings, locking up bad poets in their artisanal hair shirts, torturing academics with pornographic marionette performances. Meanwhile, the scorpion is still there, twitching slightly, reciting something about violence and the prison of ego. And I can hear the clashing armies on the wide lawn outside, sinking down into history and then standing up again. And I'm going to do this one called Grace. This is in the voice of a white supremacist, which you'll pick up pretty soon. There's a line about Satan that's in capital letters to show it's a sign. And this guy uses the N-word, but I'm not going to use it. Grace. Let go and let God is my guard dog. Beware the ragged shithole hordes and bless my chrome Molly Bushmaster 223. Rest your asses nowhere near my rod and staff. I raise my beacon hand and torch anyone who doesn't believe Jesus was calved from a virgin and then ascended to his penthouse and will raptor down to smite Jews, abortionists, Muslims, fags, Obama, the Antichrist. Satan was the first to demand equal rights outside the Knoxville Baptist Tabernacle, while a boy puts his tongue in another boy's mouth, and they lie down together shy and barely breathing. And this is a title that goes right into the poem. It's called The Earth is About Used Up. Like a sodden tampon and no place to throw it away. Like an armpit-yellowed vintage blouse with see-through pearl bubble sleeves. Like a tissue travel pack in a foreign bathroom and you have to squat over a hole in the floor. The earth is about used up is the point I'm trying to drunkenly steer through the potholed streets into the suburban garage of your ears. Though you probably already know what's up with the earth, but I am telling you because the earth is about used up. Like the preserved, atrophied brain of a retired NFL defensive lineman leaking cryoprotectant. Like the tender ass of the cow and the large heart of the racehorse. Like a wind-up ladybug, crawling in decelerating circles on Lux Touch marble tiles inlaid with precious stones. Even the ocean is gasping for air while someone smokes a cigarette through their throat hole and sodas go flat in the heat. And a stack of National Geographics bloats in a rained-on cardboard box in a fallen shed some animal dragged itself into to shit away its life. I'm standing on that box with my teeny megaphone, bringing you the news you know, wildly virtue signaling, waving my mortal handkerchief, dropping it at your feet. Where it burns, Here, I don't want it. You take it, please. You take it. And here's another cheerful one. This is called August. And I wrote this when I was in a very, very beautiful place, not having a very good time. August. What I want is to slice open its stomach and watch its toxic sun uncoil into the sea. Cicadas seething in their asylum in the trees. All this frenzy and scorch, and at night, music hammering from the outdoor bar where the dancers blindside each other with longing, and the long tide slopping in and away, barnacles on the piers clinging in the literal drift. Whatever it is in me that crawls like a wasp over the remains of a picnic, used napkins blown over the senseless grass, tell me how to kill it, how to let it go out like the last disaster of love, last boat guttering in the wave swell. You know, there's something about being in a great place and having a bad time that makes it worse, because then you blame yourself for not having a good time. It's always that little should voice in your head that goes, I really should be feeling great, and you don't. And then, so it's good to just try to remember to be grateful. This is called All Hallows. It's bad to be alone on Halloween. Worse than spending Thanksgiving with a styrofoam cup of turkey noodle, or a sober Christmas after a breakup, surrounded by happy lesbian couples discussing condo timeshares. You have to turn off your lights and hide from the doorbell. You have to cover your eyes from knife shadows on the walls, and your ears from sinister music scores, smashing window glass and terrified girls. You have to remember that time as a kid you vomited all over your fairy outfit at the shopping center, and then peed out of shame with your ripening talent for making things worse. You had a talent for singing too. Twice you lost competitions to boys playing the drum solo from Wipeout. You should have just stood up in the auditorium and done your retromingent trick in front of the entire school. Retromingent means self-pissing, basically. Now you do it in poems, laying a golden sheen over the paper, inviting people into the dirty gas station bathroom of your performative loneliness. Princess, French maid, ladybug, cowgirl, zombie. It's the night of the living ex-husbands. The souls are pouring out of purgatory or steaming up from the animals they were trapped in. My father wants a fresh beer. My mother some Fritos with a single bourbon and Coke. My brother just wants to go fishing one more time. Cheerleader, angel, skeleton, witch, imago, round about the toilet go, in the fatal kisses throw. Oh, my weird sisters, we're not bad, just lost. Look at Anne Sexton swirling overhead, behind Plath and her impeccable broom. Look at all the blatophiliac girls longing to faceplant in Mr. Death's crotch. Ladies, women, darlings, bitches, you, stop it right now and pay attention. Virginia Woolf is rising from the river, sloshing home to Leonard in her Wellingtons, nothing in her pockets but bread. You have to take out the stones and put them back where they belong. You have to carve the names of the dead and then let rain and years destroy them, the moon weakening like a cheap flashlight while your heart blinks on. Somebody emailed me recently and said, what's a blatophiliac? And somebody thought it referred to Ophelia, who was certainly sad and suicidal, but it's basically a word I made up, and philia being a root that means loving, or philiac being somebody who's sort of obsessed with something. And so it's sort of, girls and women obsessed with getting blotto. And that's one of the poems in the book that I feel is really for girls and young women, especially those with a dark turn of mind. And this is another one, to the woman crying uncontrollably in the next stall. If you ever woke in your dress at 4 a.m., ever closed your eyes to someone you loved, opened them for someone you didn't, moved against a pillow in the dark, stood miserably on a beach, seaweed clinging to your ankles, paid good money for a bad haircut, backed away from a mirror that wanted to kill you, bled into the back seat for lack of a tampon, If you swam across a river under rain, sang using a dildo for a microphone, stayed up to watch the moon eat the sun entire, ripped out the stitches in your heart, because why not? If you think nothing and no one can, listen, I love you. Joy is coming. Let's see, I'm going to do this one. Going to do just 2 or 3 more. I wanted to read kind of short so that Aya and I have a chance to kind of talk with each other a little bit before your questions. So this is called Archive of Recent Uncomfortable Emotions. This haircut makes me feel ugly feeling. The however much I drink, I can't pretend it's love feeling. The strangled by the foul and ugly mists of vapors in iambic pentameter feeling. The everything I write is shit feeling. The I'm sorry I gave those blowjobs and did you not understand the meaning of reciprocal feeling. The it's not my birthday anymore, I'm just older feeling. The looking at x-rays of my teeth feeling. The something died in your eyes and I can smell it feeling. The literary recognition might be just another shiny object feeling. The darkling, I listen and right now I think it would be kind of cool to die feeling. The Keats is dead feeling. The Leonard Cohen is dead feeling. The blank and my blank are also quite dead feeling. The I am Jean Rhys getting blotto in a dismal room in Paris with black specks on the wall feeling. The maybe I'm just getting blotto feeling. The trees are no longer my friends feeling. The my friends are no longer my friends feeling. The once I was a 19th century Russian novel, but now I'm a frozen chicken entree feeling. The I can always return this feeling in the prepaid envelope provided feeling. The I am the prepaid envelope feeling. Let's see. I want to read one for Aya. And I want to read this both for my daughter and for my friends Chad and Sue, who have a little girl named Aya, who they named after my Aya. And whenever I see it on Facebook, I get very confused. Wait a minute. But it's a beautiful name, and now at least a couple of beautiful girls have that name. Name that means holy in Greek. Today I heard your name shouted by a short order cook, flipping scallion pancakes in a grease-grimed Chinese restaurant. He said it meant wow, which is the best word I know for the unutterable sublime. Wow is how I had the dumb luck to become your young and terrified mother, not knowing how to hold you in the hospital parking lot while your father got the car. It seemed to take a long time. Wow, it seemed to take 10 minutes for you to get your driver's license and move away to New York. I remember the moment we made you and knew we had, your father lifting himself up off the bed and laughing. Little hawk, Sumerian goddess, Kachina that races the wind. The verses of the Quran are ayahs. In Japanese, full of color or beauty, though once inked for me as tomorrow's arrow. The secret ingredient in the chef's special, a marinade containing ayah. First word spoken by a rose. Last word the trees say at night as they lie down in the forests and fields. Last sound I'll make, if I can still speak at the end, my palindrome, sword, storm wind. Well, I almost got through that without starting to cry. And I'm going to finish with this poem. And this is the poem that ends the book. And it's really for anybody who has ever gotten within a mile of thinking they might want to do themselves in. It's called Stay. So your device has a low battery and seems to drain faster each day. Maybe you should double your medication. You might feel queasy, but also as if the spatula flattening you to the fry pan has lifted a little. So your breath comes out scorched, so what? Inside, trust me on this, there's a ribbon of beach by a lake. In the sand, fragments of a fossilized creature resembling a tulip. Back in the Paleozoic, online wasn't invented yet, so everyone had to wander alone and miserable through the volcanic wastes, or just glue themselves to a rock, hoping someone would pass by. Now you can sob to an image of your friend a continent away and be consoled. Please wait for the transmissions, however faint. Listen. When a stranger steps into the elevator with a bouquet of white roses not meant for you, they're meant for you. Thanks.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Oh, thanks, baby. You too. I thought it would be fun for us to have a little conversation first before questions if people have them, because this is really our first reading together. We did a podcast and we had a really fun, excuse me, interesting conversation.
Don't die now. Not the flowers are for you.
All of a sudden I got choked up. Yeah, so and it's been just, I love where we are now as a mom and daughter, because we've had a few rough years on and off, and I just love being able to talk to you about being an artist and what we're doing in our respective artistic lives, and I'm so excited you're writing. I'm so happy that you're writing. And one of my questions for you was, did you early on want to be a writer, and did I fuck you up? And I know the thing I'm thinking of, because you remind me of the story often, that when you showed me some of your poetry when you were about 17, I said, you thought very dismissively something like, honey, I wasn't any good at your age either. Or something. It came off really badly. Like, it came off totally wrong, like you suck, which was not at all what I meant. I meant it to be encouraging and to say, it just keep going and it takes a long time. But obviously that didn't connect. And so I just wonder, like, do you think you might have followed writing more if it hadn't been for sort of, your mom being a writer? Did you want to think about carving out your own path and just going a different direction because of that? Or was that just not something you were that interested in?
I don't know. I actually think I was in my early 20s when this happened. I think I was a much better writer as a teen than I was as an adult. I got a lot of credit when I was younger because I knew the different forms of poetry because of you. So I won all these poetry contests when I was very young, but mostly because they couldn't believe that a 10-year-old knew what a pantoum was. So I had is that how nepotism works? I don't know. I would love to blame you, as children like to blame their mothers for everything, but I actually think I was just better at acting. Writing, I felt like I would never be at the level, like maybe I would have had I put in the time, but I also didn't get the same joy as I got acting. Acting brought me that immediate joy, whereas writing is really hard and is still really hard, even though I enjoy it and will keep writing, but I don't have aspirations to become a writer, which is actually a much better way to write for me. It's much more fun to write, not trying to become a writer, but just trying to write. And if that means I write an essay every couple of years, which is what it's been so far, that feels fine because I'm not trying to make a career out of it. So you gave me the gift of enjoying writing, not as a means of making cash.
I definitely gave you that. It's funny because, I had one very small experience of seeing what a rush it might be to act, which was when I was trying to write a play, and I was in this playwriting class, and they had us take various parts of people's scripts, to hear them aloud and stuff. And I had one moment in somebody's script where I was somebody at the DMV, and the lines were sort of pedestrian, but I made a choice about how to deliver them, and the whole room cracked up. And I was like, what a rush that is to do something, live like that affects people in that way, that kind of performance. And I guess I get it sometimes in writing, but writing is much more for me sort of a just between me and the page, or me and the screen when I write, and that's the high. And then it can be good performing it for people, or it can make me feel self-conscious, or all those other things. But I'm not a performer, and I don't want to be a performer. But it's interesting, I felt like I got a little glimpse of what it must be like for you to to go out there and really affect people, especially on a stage, right? In theater.
Yeah.
Do you miss theater?
Say again?
You miss theater? I mean, performing theater?
Definitely. I mean, I miss theater desperately. I miss seeing theater regularly too. I've only been doing a play a year, a play every couple of years for the last few. And, but I hope theater comes back with a vengeance after this. And hopefully it'll have gone through its own transition process because of the shutdown and because of the conversations happening in our country, that theater will grow and change, and we're also going to find new ways of making it because of this. I mean, I've had a couple friends who've done outdoor things where like people sit in their cars and do it, and I think that's I can't remember the real quote, so I won't butcher it, but something is the mother of invention.
Necessity.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I mean, I think, especially, just creatives all over the world are coming up with ways to deal with this stuff and figure things out and find new ways. And so I have faith. I mean, not that it isn't, horrible and terrible for a lot of people, but I really do have faith also that we as a species are really creative, and that's going to really help to save us, finding new ways to deal with the stuff that we're going through right now, that a lot of people are going through, and trying to figure out how to come back and make things stronger, whether that's a restaurant or a theater. Or
it just shows you how quickly we can do things and change when you see how much we've changed in the last year or two. So I do think that getting creative and putting our collective energy towards this one thing, like getting a vaccine, has become, we got a vaccine quicker than anything we've ever had in the past. So
yeah.
Are you trying to spy on the questions? I can see you.
No, just I think Shane, our host, is letting us know about 5 more minutes, and then we'll take some questions. Right. So I did have another one for you.
Okay. Well, I took requests on Instagram, so I've got a few.
Oh, okay. You've got a few. Sneaky. I have one more question for you before you go that, which is that you've played some terrible people, and I just wonder, has it ever been hard for you to sort of find that part of you that you need to access to act them? Do you find that that's something that's in you that you can say, okay, there's that side of me that I can sort of access, or do you feel like, nah, I don't feel this, I'm just going to lie? In that, I'm going to act by just pretending rather than kind of, I guess I'm really asking about your process, because we've never really talked about creative process and how that works. So do you just make a choice, or do you sort of respond in the moment, or is it some combination?
I think you use different aspects of yourself and amplify them. And there are definitely nastier parts of myself that I have gone into to play characters that I disagree with, in terms of trying to connect to moments where maybe, usually I feel like terrible people are terrible because of fear and shame. And that's usually the place that I can connect to. And the moments where I've behaved badly or said even minor things, like if I have to play somebody who is like completely self-absorbed and dismissive of other people and always talking over other people, whatever it is. I know that when I get insecure, I would suddenly maybe I'd talk about something I did because, or an accolade because I am feeling insecure. And then I'd feel gross afterwards because I was like, why did I say that about that? I was just like trying to make myself feel better. So you connect to those moments and then sort of blow them up. When it comes to something like playing a Nazi, it's I had to find the other parts to connect to because there's no part of me that connects with wanting to kill someone with the kind of hatred that she spews. So that's a different kind of, I don't feel like I'm like, well, I can think about the times when I wanted to murder someone. It's not like I go through my Rolodex of ex-boyfriends or anything like that. It is more of like a make-believe thing, but you have to ground it in some sort of reality. So, it's like go to the darkest place you can, but then go into a fantasy land in some way, shape, I think. But I have really important questions for you. Like, do you wash your knees?
Are you asking me? Is that one of your Instagram questions?
Well, that's one of my Instagram questions. I believe they're trying to make a You're the Worst reference, which is, do you wash your legs? And Mom, do you wash your legs?
I remember that moment in You're the Worst. Well, yeah.
Or do you just let the water flow?
I actually wash. Yeah.
Good.
Not so often these days. I don't get dressed very often anymore either, but
none of us. One of the ones a friend of mine asked, which is, when did you know you were a poet? Like, when did you realize that was something that you were going to be, that was going to be your life? Like, how did you make that decision?
Yeah, I made the decision a lot before I knew it, if that makes sense. I mean, I think, that road is accompanied by a whole lot of self-doubt at every level, as I imagine anything you're trying to do creatively that sort of isn't cut and dried. Like, if you want to be a dental hygienist, you go to school and you learn the things you need to learn, and then you can do that. Whereas if you're a writer and you're trying to learn the craft, and it doesn't guarantee that, you even if you go get an MFA or whatever, that you're actually going to be able to, definitely doesn't mean you're going to be able to make a living necessarily, or career, or have the kind of success maybe you would like to have as a writer. And I think that's different for everyone, what kind of success they have. But I just got gobsmacked, as the Brits would say, by poetry, and knew I had to learn to do it. And really, for some reason, really had a sense of certainty that that's what I wanted to do with my life, which wasn't until my late 20s that I began to read poetry and contemporary poetry and learn anything about it. So I think I was kind of a late bloomer. I published my first book at 40. So, I think that doubt comes all along the way. And the tricky part is you almost have to commit with the doubt. You can't wait till the doubts are over, till you get the right validation from the world in order to do it. You just sort of have to validate yourself until you get some from somebody else. And I remember, I can't remember when it was, probably maybe, I don't know, it was a few years after I started writing, and I got waitlisted for MacDowell, the MacDowell colony, which is a writer's colony, and it's competitive to get in. And I got waitlisted. And that was like a sign from the world that I was doing something that someone was responding to and liking. And then I got in, being on the wait list, enough people dropped out that I got into MacDowell. And that was kind of a pivotal moment for me when I was working at an auto parts store, where I worked for several years, but I had great bosses, and they were like, yeah, take a month off. Your job will be here when you get back. Go write, which was pretty amazing. And that's what I did. And so that kind of, that helped. I mean, any kind of validation and anything you can do to keep yourself going is really important when you're, and I mean, I know it's been the same for you. I remember your Juilliard edition. I remember when you didn't get into Juilliard. And of course you must have been, I don't really remember your response, but you must have been crushed or must have been really disappointed. And yet, you kept going, you went to another school and you went on and you just kept going and pursued it. And I think that's a lot of it. I think maybe Shane is, yeah, good.
I'm back.
Help us before we speak again.
First off, I know that the audience is enjoying this conversation as much as I am. Thank you for the incredible reading and a lot of comments of love and appreciation for both of you. So maybe I'll send you the comments and try to figure out a way to make that happen. But let's do a couple of questions, and then I might have a question or two of my own.
Okay.
So Shannon is asking, what do you do when writer's block appears? And also just any type of creative block. Do you have tips and tricks to get you through that?
I'll start, and I may have a comment too. I generally call up my friends and whine and say, I can't write, I have nothing to say, la, 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 and they go, Kim, do you remember when you said that last time and it was summer of whatever, and then you wrote X and then you wrote Y and then this happened. And so I think that's by way of saying it seems for a lot of writers that I know to cycle in, and we cycle in and out of being able to write. It's not many of us, I don't think, maybe Joyce Carol Oates, who said, television, I never watched television. What a waste of time. And I can imagine that for her, it is a waste of time and all she does is write. But for a lot of us, we have many other things in our lives that need our attention. We can't always make the time. And even when we make the time, sometimes it's not reliable that it's there. And so I think for me, the biggest thing is remembering that and knowing it and saying, okay, I'm in a space where I can't write. So maybe I'm just filling up right now. Maybe I need to have more experiences and go do other things, or go look at some art, go visit a friend, go get out in nature and let my brain sort of have some new experiences and some new thoughts. And then, and not worry too much, as long as I'm not letting that period go on for too long a time. And then, there are times when you just have to sit down, and even if you write garbage, which I do a lot of, you just keep writing. You just keep doing it. It's like, okay, this is my writing time. I'm going to read for a while. Then I'm going to try to write. And then the day goes by and you feel like you're a useless human being because you've done nothing and you've written nothing, but you've tried. And that's the important thing. And if you do that enough, I guarantee you something will start to happen. It's just, you have to have that tolerance for the universe to go, no, no, no. But if you just keep shoving at that door, it will finally creak open and something will happen.
I thought you answered that so well. I don't need to add. I feel very similarly. I like to go out and do other things when I'm feeling blocked.
Yeah.
Brittany is asking a very deep question for both my queens, Kim and Aya.
Oh, hi, Brittany. Glad you're here.
Brittany's asking, how do I get through life? It's so busy and so overwhelming. Any advice is appreciated. Thank you both for being who you are and sharing it with us. It means everything to me. And that question was typed before your last poem, Kim, and I felt like that was a really great answer to this question, but I'm wondering if you have other type of advice for Brittany.
Yeah, I think we all feel that way. Sometimes, a lot of the time, sometimes occasionally, but especially I think in the past year or so, it's been so overwhelming and it's just really hard to do anything but look at what's right in front of you and trying to get through that. But I do believe, I was having such a bad day, and that was real, the guy getting in the elevator, and there was this beautiful bouquet of white roses. And even though, and my first thing was a flash of envy, like, oh, he's a really cute guy. Where is he going? He's got somebody to take those flowers to. And then my next thought was, but I'm getting to see them right now for 5 floors as we went up in the elevator. And so in a way, they were really meant for me. Like, so the world gives you these things, and it actually gives you a lot of them if you pay attention. And if you can find one thing the world has given you that day and kind of hang on to that and trust that there's more, and wait, you know, there's so much about just waiting for that feeling to pass, because it will pass and something else will happen. And as I actually always say to you, Brittany, life is change, and we can't control that, and we can't make life very stable for very long, and we just have to find a way to accept that and realize that life is change, and try to, you know, hope that good changes are coming, and some are. So Aya, is there anything you want to say?
No, I was just so moved by that answer. I mean, I think it's really beautiful. And I felt the same thing where I was like, oh, wow, that I was cheating and looking through the questions and I saw that. And I just thought, oh, wow, like what a beautiful answer to that question. And it's a answer to that question, and it's the answer to that question, meaning like, you said it, and it's the gift that you didn't mean to give that just happens to be there if you're looking for it. The sort of synchronicity moments in the world. But I also think, just on a practical level, that, you know, I tend to self-soothe with things like binge watching, and, you know, not to ruin my own career, but I find that if I binge watch a series, I am sated throughout, but then it's over and I don't feel good. When I binge a book, I feel great afterwards. So it's kind of like, you know, the candy or the you know, the good meal. And so even though I think there's a place for consumption in terms of, even social media can be fun and distracting, and sometimes we need to take ourselves away from ourselves, but like a book brings you back to yourself in a way that I think is a better way to go through life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you read so much more than I do right now. I've had trouble reading all year. I just can't focus, and I've done a lot of binge watching. But I find that lately I'm starting to be able to read again, and I feel really good, even when I sit down and just read a chapter of a book I'm reading that I like, that is doing something for me. I feel enlarged in a way that I don't necessarily feel watching something. I might be entertained, but somehow I feel like a book enlarges me and makes my head more spacious.
I don't know how poetry hasn't made like a huge splash during the pandemic year, because we're all having a hard time focusing. And a poem is this gift that you can consume in small bites, and it's the most dense nutrient thing you can consume. So
I love that metaphor. Yeah.
I mean, I think that it has actually had quite a bit of a resurrection. We've had incredible audiences, including the audience tonight, show up for these wonderful poetry events. We just hosted Diane Seuss a couple weeks ago. She's so good.
Love her. Yeah.
We have the pandemic poets, Alice Quinn from her anthology, Together in a Sudden Strangeness. They're going to be with us in a couple weeks, and people are like finding such relief and such joy and sorrow and so many of the emotions that a wide range of poetry will bring. But I myself am connecting more with poetry than I have in years. And I think it is because of the attention span that people have and the kind of desire for those nuggets of just like compact, beautiful. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a question from Donna. Donna saying, Aya, as you are writing your essays, do you read what you write out loud to revise it?
I don't, actually. I send to my mom to revise it. I mean, it's actually
cheating.
I'm joking, but I have the best editor ever. I mean, anytime I'm working on something, I send it to my mom and talk through it. And you know, it's the best. The hardest part is not taking all her notes, because I have opinions too, you know, because I have to say, like, actually, what do I think and what do I want? But she's been such a big help to me in terms of, you know, not making me write as she would write, but sort of asking the questions of like, and what are you trying to say here? This didn't feel clear to me. But I don't act them out at all, except like if I was working on a screenplay or something like that, that would be something that I sort of speak aloud, but not.
Aren't you working on a screenplay right now?
That's another story. We have a beautiful writer who wrote a screenplay based on one of my mom's books that I'm doing just little tweaks and updates to because I would like to make this movie based on my mom's first novel. So.
All right, last question is going to be from Emily. Did Kim have concerns about Aya choosing to pursue a career in the arts, knowing how hard it can be to survive as a creative? A lot of parents want their kids to have 9-to-5 jobs for security, etc.
I think Aya is able to answer that pretty well in terms of how her parents reacted to her wanting to be an actor.
I don't know if I've made this up or not, but I've said it so many times now it's true, which is my parents told me, you can be anything except a Republican. But I remember, that's sort of a joke, but really both of my parents were artists. My dad was a musician for many years and is now a Buddhist priest, so not in the traditional career path. And both of them were incredibly supportive. And I think, I don't know if you agree with this, but I felt like money was not the objective. And so the concern of like, are you going to make a good living? It was like, you'll get by because being an artist is having to do whatever it is to do your art. So I didn't have this idea that I had to make a living as an artist. I had the idea I had to make a life as an artist, and I would make my living to support myself as an artist. And whether that be partially through art or fully through art, that was the example set out for me. So I feel very lucky that I grew up with the parents I did, and to have a mother who was so incredibly creative and successful, and when I was young did not make much money from it and had other jobs, but was doing what she cared about and loved first and foremost was a really wonderful thing to have growing up, and allowed me to make the decision to become an actor without thinking I need to be on TV or on Broadway or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's so great to see the support that you have for each other and for art. So it's very inspiring, your relationship, and to see just working together to make art thrive.
We'll send you the snapshots of the harder years in order for you to know. If anyone doesn't have that relationship with their family, it's okay. We worked our butts off to get.
Yeah. This is the Hollywood view of
Read the book. Don't watch the movie.
Yeah. Really quick, I want to talk about this Kal-Sari Khanate, and however it's pronounced.
Kal-Sari Khanate.
Oh, wow. I was really far off. How can we all just adopt that as a way of life?
I love that. I saw it somewhere. Somebody had written a column and they mentioned this word. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. That's close to that. It's this Danish word, and it means, sitting around in your underwear drunk with no intention of going out. So I've heard. Anyway, that's the way this writer described it. And I just thought that would be, perfect to slap on my book as a sort of thing to say, hey, here's what to read if that's your situation. But even if it's not, we got to go out there sometime. But I always used to joke that I would be great on house arrest, because what did I need? I'm in a house. I can look at trees. I have, I can watch TV. I have multiple instruments, musical instruments to play. Like why? And being a writer, I'm sort of a shut-in anyway, and sort of an introvert. So I just thought, I'd have no problem. But after a year of this, feels a little different, and I'm really longing for connection and happy, to get vaccinated and get out in the world more again. But it just seemed like the right kind of mood at the time.
All right, well, I want to thank you both. Kim, it was a pleasure to have you back again here at Left Bank Books virtually.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to have you actually in the store.
Someday,
hopefully soon. And it's such a pleasure to meet you. I cannot wait to watch this country and to continue being a fan of your work. So I wish you both the best. Thank you for being here. A reminder that we do have signed copies of Now We're Getting Somewhere available from Left Bank Books. And we do also have the anthology, which I cannot get it all right, Notes from the Bathroom Line, Humor, Art, and Low-Grade Panic from 150 of the Funniest Comedy. So we do also have that, not only in our shop, but in our window as well. So happy to have you both. Audience, thank you all so much for being here. And we'll see. I'll let you say goodbye as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Bye, Mom.
Bye. Bye, baby.
All right. Have a good night.
Nice.